A spot on Coachella, over 19 million plays on SoundCloud, co-signs from the world's biggest celebrities, and a feature on a #1 album, all without more than 20 tracks to his name and in under 2 years. Nav is truly a curious case. Alongside other artists such as Jazz Cartier and Safe, Nav is a part of a larger movement within Toronto, showcasing the up-and-coming talent the city has to offer. Coming out in late 2014 with Make It Minor, there have been many crucial factors that have led to Nav's gigantic success. And for as much as we know about Nav, there is still so much we don't know about him. But what has caused this massive hype around Nav, to where we are seeing him everywhere? From posts on The Weeknd's Instagram, to countless Kanye to the hype threads, to his first ever performance being at the upcoming Coachella. Well, let's dive in and break it down. Yadiiiigg. There seems to be a fallacy on the internet that marketing, PR, and cosigns can simply make an artist's music good, which is utter bullshit. All the support that Nav has gotten up to this point wouldn't mean anything if Nav's music didn't connect with the people, so let's discuss that first. Beginning with his sound, the soundscape that Nav chooses to deliver his thoughts on is a large part to his success. Handling most of the production himself, Nav's sound can be likened to that OVO sound, the melting pot of hip-hop and R&B, where every beat is measured enough to not be too in-your-face, hard, and banger-like, but at the same time has enough bounce, bass, and trap percussion to where it still goes in the whip. Nav's music meets at a crossroad where really it's perfect for any environment. It is low-key enough to where the smooth, hazy, and blunted atmosphere is perfect for late-night solo cruises. But at the same time, the chopping and changing drum patterns, subtle yet effective 808s, and the party-focused lyrics make nearly every song of his a low-key banger. The versatility of his sound makes it extremely accessible. At this point, the OVO-ish, Drake-ish, Party Next Door-ish, Weeknd-ish sound is highly generic. But that doesn't stop new artists from being successful with it. The reason why Nav has become so popular is the same reason why someone like BrysonTillerVEVO blew up. Tiller represents the average Joe Blow who, despite past actions, just wants to do right and treat girls well. This is an extremely attractive image and aesthetic to women, and because of this, Tiller became the poster boy for young girls in 2015/16. Nothing about Tiller's music is necessarily exciting, different, or new, but it's his everyman image and his accessible, laid back, but still bouncy sound that has led to his success. If Bryson Tiller caters to the average 19-year-old female who relates to the assertion that girl, he only fucked you over because you let him, Nav is his dark evil twin who caters to the average 19-year-old male who relates to the sentiment or prescribes to the idea of roll me up some dope and I feel like myself again. The stereotypical early adult years where it is deemed to be cool to be focused on partying, women and drugs. In this sense, Tiller and Nav are on the same road, as a roll with the same generic, slightly played out sound, but are just in different lanes with the thoughts they choose to colour this sound in with. You might be thinking, aren't lyrics focused on partying, drugs and women every single other new artist out right now? But there is something different about the way that Nav puts his thoughts. He isn't necessarily bragging about everything at all times. Sometimes he's just bluntly putting his experiences. This makes his music extremely relatable. Being in that age range myself, it is clear that everybody goes through a roller coaster of emotions when dealing with a drug habit. And Nav is able to tap into that tug-of-war frame of mind that every drug user faces so well. For example, most newer artists, when talking about a bad experience with a pill, might say something like, I'm popping all these pills, man and word tripping, like Famous Dex has. Whereas Nav will take this a step further, adding a personal and revealing layer to his lyrics. For example on Up, where he says this isn't something new, and artists like Future have been doing this for the longest, but it does go a long way in making his music more interesting and creating a personal connection between Nav and his fans. Another layer to this is the interpretive aspect to many of his lyrics, where the same phrase can be interpreted in multiple ways. For example, myself, how you choose to interpret these lyrics can really depend on your level of sobriety or your environment at the time. It can go from being a celebration that you were in this altered state of mind where you are saying what you mean now, but listen to it in a different state of consciousness and the lyrics can be taken completely differently, where when you are sober you just don't like who you are. This isn't revolutionary, but it's a strong suit of Nav's writing, and it really taps into the love-hate relationship with drugs that more so than ever is prevalent in the youth today. Again, Nav doesn't necessarily do anything new with his sound or lyrics, but what he does have is a relatable, accessible, clean sound filled with relatable, accessible lyrics to rap's biggest demographic. And because of this, it is no wonder why Nav's music has been able to connect, resonate, and gain such a large following in a small period of time. Next, we move on to a crucial part of Nav's rise, and some may argue the very reason he has gotten so big: cosigns. It's hard not to start getting looks from every single angle when you are getting co-signed by the biggest celebrities in the world, both within and outside of music. Firstly, Drake. Drake's OVO Sound Radio acts as a channel between Drake, 40 and the rest of the world, giving insight to who and what they are feeling at the moment. Drake holds such a vital position within hip-hop culture. People trust in Drake, and this cosign is huge. Nav is just one of such artists to benefit from OVO Sound Radio play, with him getting play as early as January 2016. This introduced the world to Nav's sound, and helped get the ball rolling for him. The second cosign to discuss is Kylie Jenner's. Kylie's cosigns are huge, as they inevitably send hordes of fans to discover the artist's music. This was no different in Nav's case, with his biggest song on SoundCloud, Myself, receiving the Kylie Jenner stimulus. The key difference with Kylie's cosign is that if you get posted on XXL, Pigeons and Planes, Complex, etc., you are by and large reaching the same general audience. But with Kylie, she reaches so many different ages, races, places, and people, it makes her cosign priceless.
When I'm sober, I just don't like who I am. Pull me up before and I feel like myself again.
Moving on to the Weeknd cosign and the EXO connection. Cash, who manages both Bally and the Weeknd, also lists Nav in his Twitter bio. This, amongst the numerous posts of Nav on the Weeknd's social media and Nav's own lyrics, highlight this EXO association. Not only has this exposed Nav to Abel's gigantic fan base, but perhaps more importantly, the connection, support, and knowledge both EXO and Weeknd come with will hopefully help Nav take his career to the next level. Lastly, the Beebs in the Trap feature on Travis Scott's latest album, Birds in the Trap Sing McKnight. This hasn't necessarily made Nav, but his wave has definitely elevated to a new level as the song has grown and become a fan favourite off the album. The ether that Nav delivered Travis here has helped tremendously, with his catchy flow and already blastic lines like, I just poured an 8 in a litre, and she snored in 3 lines like Adidas. It made Nav the highlight of the track. Importantly, this is essentially a Nav song on Travis's album, with the production and the majority of the track being Nav himself. This means if you like this track, you already have an introduction to Nav's sound, and are likely to enjoy his other material. The last thing we have left to discuss is Nav's image. As suggested earlier, his public relations up to this point have been very minimal. With very few photos online, no interviews, and only one music video showing his face, this has been a deliberate choice of Nav's. However, the difference with Nav compared to Weeknd or Party Next Door is that this image is likely due to him being unsure of how the world will receive a 27-year-old Indian who uses the N-word and raps about partying, drugs and women as if he was 19. If the Beebs in the Trap video was anything to go by, it's divided, creating wars between social justice warriors and people who couldn't give a fuck alike. But that is hardly a mainstream hit as of yet, so we can't really tell until he gets a true hit on his hands. This is not a slight against Nav, but if you were to look into his lyrics, subject matter, and overall aesthetic, you would expect him to be much younger and black. For myself, the music is all that matters, but that's definitely not the same for everybody, let alone the social justice warriors out there. And these factors could definitely come to hinder Nav's career in the long run, as we rarely see hip-hop artists at this age blow up in the mainstream. For the moment, however, this image has drawn people into the mystique of Nav. And as the discussion of his N-word past continues, the saying, any publicity is good publicity, seems to ring true, as it only leads to more discussion about Nav. With cosigns from the biggest celebrities, both inside and outside of music, a hit feature on a #1 album, an image that makes people want more, and last but not least an accessible and relatable sound, it is no wonder why the Nav wave continues to grow. Thanks for watching today guys, that's all from me. Please like, subscribe and follow me on all social medias for more.